All right, welcome to the Artist Moving Taking Our Break podcast. Today we're really excited. We have Jessica and Amber here, and I see a cat in the background.
That's a
so,
dog.
and
Oh,
a dog.
dogs!
Oh, so sweet. So you guys organize or collaborate together and develop something called Recipes for Connection. Tell a little bit about yourselves, our viewers, and a little about this collaboration, what you created together.
Sure. Do you want me to go first, Amber?
Yes, please.
Okay. My name is Jessica Bianchi, and I am a licensed marriage and family therapist and board certified art therapist. I'm also a professor at Loyola Marymount University, and I teach in our marriage and family therapy department with specialized training in art therapy. And it's kind of interesting. My dad was a freelance artist, and at the time that I was born, my mom was a social worker. And so you have me, who is a art therapist. I didn't even know what that meant. But really, our organization, and maybe we can tell you a little bit about it after Amber introduces herself, is really about using the art as a way to connect with yourself and with others. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. And I'm Amber, and I am also an art therapist and an arts educator, a passionate mental health advocate. I personally just was able to understand art making meant so much to me as a child, and just throughout life didn't even really know art therapy was a thing and that was a field and a profession. And so there was just this natural organic path of being an educator, a teacher, and then just seeing that there was so much going on with the youth I was working with, like so much emotional need and wanting more one-on-one time, wanting to understand that more. So I was kind of like, okay, led me to psychology. And then at some point, a lot of people describe the aha moment when someone says, well, what about art therapy? It's like, that for me, I had a moment like that. And so I'm an art therapist in community spaces. I collaborate with nonprofits, and I have a small telehealth practice. It moved to telehealth after the pandemic. And I also am a clinical supervisor in the Helen B. Landgarten Art Therapy Clinic at LMU. And I also do some part-time work with Cedars-Sinai Medical Center. I probably am forgetting something. I have a lot of jobs. And then, of course, Jessica and I working together with Recipes for Connection, which is really sort of like all of that experience that we've had, like coming together in a really beautiful way. So happy to talk about that with you.
Yeah, I'm super excited to have you all here. And we like to just jump off every conversation with a question. And the question we wanted to talk with you about today is, why is art a useful tool that teachers can and should be using in the classroom?
Yeah, we can talk forever about that.
Right, yeah. Lisa and I have been talking about art being a tool for well-being for a very long time. But I love the specificity that you all have for teachers in classrooms and group settings and things like that. So I'd really like to chat about that.
Yeah. And maybe I think what might be helpful is to think about, like, so our organization's name is Recipes for Connection, and I'd love to just share a little bit about how that came to be, and then we can jump into the class space. But so like Amber was saying, we've collaborated for years and years and years. Like what, 15 years, Amber? We've been collaborating, doing these art in community, art as healing workshops, events. And one of the projects that we worked on was a project in collaboration with an organization at the time. I'm not sure if it exists anymore, but the Center for Restorative Justice Works, where they work with helping families where one is incarcerated. So for this specific project, we were asked to provide a art therapy based week-long workshop for children and their moms who are incarcerated to do over the course of a week. So Amber and I decided to think about what we were going to do during this week-long art making event with kids and their moms. Some of the moms and kids hadn't seen each other in like multiple developmental stages.
Mhm.
And so, like we usually do, we didn't want to go in and say, this is what you should do. We went and we said, what do you want to do? Like, what would be helpful for you? And a lot of the moms that we spoke to really talked about like wanting to give their children, wanted to give them something, some knowledge to impart some sort of
Mhm.
experience so that they could use that, when they're separated.
Mhm.
And in conversation, a lot of the women talked about wanting them to, have recipes that they could easily make for themselves. And
Mm.
so this idea of recipes became the foundation for our first activity. And so we created with the moms and the kids this recipe book. And so first it was a recipe for your favorite meal, and we would use like magazine collage, right? And then it became a recipe for what to do when you want to celebrate. Or towards the end of the week, it was a recipe for what to do when you miss someone. And so the
Wow.
kids and the moms got to talk about it and make this recipe book. And then the kids got to take it, and the moms got to feel like they were there with their child. And it was beautiful. And as a mom, heartbreaking. It
Yeah.
was just all of the feels. And but really what we noticed was how quickly and how effectively the art helped these families really connect so quickly,
Mhm.
and under such stressful circumstances. And so that's why our organization is called Recipes for Connection.
Love
You
that.
want to add anything, Amber?
Yeah, it was incredible. It also just like helped them make up for lost time.
Mhm.
I think we're really grounded in attachment theory, and that really identifying and naming how important and significant early attachment relationships are throughout childhood. So kind of transition back to your question about why in the schools, like why the social emotional learning opportunities are so supportive to any children who may have had interruptions with their attachment. And we know so much about what's going on post pandemic.
Yeah.
I was just looking at some statistics this morning just to kind of guide the conversation.
Mhm.
According to the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, approximately 9.4% of children aged 3 to 17, about 5.8 million,
Wow.
had a diagnosed anxiety disorder in 2020, and
Yeah.
4.4%,
Mhm.
2.7 million, had a diagnosed depressive disorder. And so I think we're really kind of here in the right time to kind of respond to the tsunami of need, the
Mhm.
tsunami of mental health need that we're seeing. And I think that just to kind of bullet point some of the things, I mean, just making art is so important to express yourself, to develop empathy, to reduce stress, to problem solve, to collaborate. When we work through something, when we work through challenges and we have to work through these mistakes, we're developing resilience and perseverance and self-awareness and reflection. And then also it's so important for cultural inclusion, and making the classroom like a supportive and connected space. I think that's the
Yeah.
main thing for me, like creating opportunity for that.
There's this
Go
go
ahead.
ahead.
No, I'm curious, like, because when you were talking about the genesis of your program, where these people were, the moms and the kids were connecting through the art and its process. How do you feel that art? I call it a talisman, meaning an object of power. Like, how does that happen? What happens, and how does that become a bridge? Just kind of the nuts and bolts.
We have I think we have some theories that are backed by research.
Yeah.
But really, like, I think just at a very basic level, when noticing the moms and the kids making art together, they're sitting really close, right? Are sitting really close together. There's that, what do they call it? The serve and the return that happens with attachment, right? So at a very basic level, there's all this being seen, all that, those good oxytocin chemicals, right? Like, so I think at a very basic level, there's that. And then in addition, you are you're having both like a verbal dialogue and a visual dialogue. So expressing yourself and then being seen and accepted in that expression, I think then also starts to really kind of strengthen the connection and the bond. So just at a very, very basic level. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Well said. Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah, I wanted to add something too about, going back to the classroom space. We're always referencing this great article. It's by Howard Bath. It's called what is it called? Now I forget. Therapy in the Other 23 Hours. Or no, I can't no, Trauma-Wise Care in the Other 23 Hours.
Trauma-wise.
Yes,
Yes.
that's it. And it's sort of speaking to this idea that, kids are in therapy maybe for one, if they're, fortunate enough and have the resources, they're in therapy for 1 hour a week. But what do you do in the other 23 hours? And he talks about how the classroom space is sometimes the most consistent space that a child will go to. And so therefore we treat it, as a therapeutic milieu in a sense, right? Because that is again, like maybe one of the spaces that they go to that is the most consistent. And so being very mindful of that, and how do we, teachers have so much on their plate, so much on their plate. And how do we support the students and the teachers? Like what are sort of tools that we can give them to increase the relationships and the connections? Because we know that when students feel connected and have a stronger relationship with their teacher, they're going to be more likely, to interact in the community spaces in a pro-social way. So, I think that we think about that a lot. Like, how can we make the teacher's job easier in a sense?
Yeah, and just to piggyback on that, there's the 3 pillars of trauma-wise care: safety, connected relationships, and emotional regulation. And those are the 3 things that we think about when we do trainings with teachers, when we're developing curriculum. Like, are we meeting these needs, which are so important for everybody?
For everybody, not just folks that have experienced a trauma, but everybody.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I think art is a fantastic tool to meet those pillars of need. Give me an example of something that you would like a lesson or that you would give a teacher to use in the classroom.
Is this a good time to bring in our doodle project, Amber?
Yeah, I would say so. I think so.
Okay.
Yeah, because we've been doing this with students, and it's like magic, like a assembly style room full of 6th and 7th graders suddenly becoming very quiet.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Go ahead, Jess.
So we've been working on a project with LACO, which stands for the Los Angeles County Office of Education, and their CDAL program. Let me see if I can remember this acronym. There's so many acronyms in education. The Center
Distance
for
and online
Learning. Yeah. And so they have a grant that's focused on what they call the Promising Learners Project. And that is promising learners are kids that have been impacted by the foster system. And so they're really targeting those kids at schools. And so we work with a whole team, and we are currently doing site visits to all sorts of schools all across Los Angeles County, like all across Los Angeles County. And it's been really interesting to kind of travel around and see all these schools and teachers. But what we talk to the teachers and the kids about is how just really simple acts of creativity that are integrated into your day, very simple materials, quick little art breaks, can be really impactful. And so we talk about doodling. And we talk about how doodling really can kind of hit a lot of those pillars. It can build a sense of safety because it does allow you to regulate. And it can really build those relationships because you can be in a regulatory place alongside somebody else and you can co-regulate. And we also have some different activities that different doodling activities that really talk to different brain functions. So we talk about bilateral stimulation, and we have the kids draw with both hands. We talk about emotional regulation, and we talk to the kids about repeating marks as a way to regulate. And then we have them do this sort of funny blind contour drawing where they're not allowed to look at the paper and they have to just look at a partner, and they come up with these really silly drawings. And so everybody's laughing. So there's relationship building. And it's been really, really exciting to see this very, very simple tool that actually has research base. We're always researching that doodling can really increase focus. It can increase positive mood states. And there was also too, I think her name is Garija Kamal, did some research where they studied the brain, and the reward center of the brain would light up when doodling. So yeah, so that's an example. Very simple.
We when we're doing this project, we're giving each of the students their own little pencil bag that has like kind of doodle materials in it, pencil, eraser, squishy brain to kind of use. So that's another area too, like kind of this idea of the art break, where even if it's just like kind of creating like a calm down type kit with some regulatory art materials in it and giving that to the teacher so that they can use that if they ever see that a student just needs to either be upregulated or downregulated. And there's like tools in there for both of those things so that they can, maybe create a space for them in the back of the classroom to use that, or maybe it's something that they take with them to the counselor's office if they really need that. So that's one way we've been trying to support teachers.
Wow, I love what you're doing. I used to teach kids in the foster care in Oakland. And I developed this transformative art program, which was, what I'm hearing, it was not really embraced. The teachers didn't really know what was going on in the art room. And it was really, it was really about transformation and about empowerment and about discovery and about relationship and about safety. So my question for you guys is, obviously you have this beautiful marriage of science backed, the science, the psychology. What are your challenges about getting it into the classroom, into the teacher's hands and saying, this is a beautiful life skill for your kids to thrive, right?
Yeah.
I feel like one of the big things is that like when we're doing, if it's either with a caregiver or an educator, is kind of like supporting them know that like you're part of the process, like you making the art with them, like teachers sometimes, not always, right? Like really want to have steps and they really want to have a clear idea of the outcome. And this approach to art making it's so much more open to expression. And if theirs looks completely different than other students, like that's okay. Like our main objective is just to be creating and using this medium to express themselves. So I think that's a big part, like in teacher trainings. When we do trainings, we have them do the art, right, so that they can really experience it. So it's not just something I'm giving to the students. This is for them.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Well, and kind of like tied into that is, I don't have time to do this.
Right.
And so really, really trying to highlight that these can be very simple, like the doodling. I had one of the teachers come up to me after and say, "Oh, didn't even think about this. This is so simple." I'm like, yeah, it is. It doesn't have to be, you don't have to get all the paint and the clay out. It can be very, very, very simple and accessible. You don't need fancy materials to do this, and you don't actually need a lot of time to do this in the way that we are advocating.
I think people have this idea of art as a lesson because that's how it's been integrated into schools, and And the thing I've been trying to get people to understand is that there's two different things. That art class is very important
Mhm.
to have in education, but art in the classroom is a different thing.
Yeah.
You're not teaching them like, well, the skill you're teaching them is more emotional regulation, processing, and self-care, and
Mhm.
just sort of, as opposed to like, this is how we shade for a shadow, right? Those are very
Exactly.
different skill sets.
Mhm.
And I
Yes.
think that's a misconception that people have when you start
Mhm.
discussing with them having art in the classroom. I think a lot of people are like, well, where do you do art?
Mhm.
And it's like, well, yes. And I mean, I'd be like, well, do more. Of course, I'm an advocate. I'm an
Yeah.
advocate for that. But I think that it's sort of getting people to understand that we're actually talking about a different kind of art, if you
Yeah.
want to say it that way. And I think Lisa mentioned like process art, right? It's about the process. It's not about the product. Art class tends to be about the product. Doesn't mean that you don't go through the process as well. It's very
Right.
beneficial. And I'm sure you could talk to any art teacher and they will witness the same things in a student when they come to art class. But in a classroom setting, it feels as though it's skill building almost together with the teacher and the student. When my son was in first grade, his teacher just randomly put out a large piece of paper one day and just tossed a couple of crayons and colored pencils on that, because she was noticing that some students were getting finished with their stuff earlier, and she's like, well, just go to the doodle table or choose something else. And she said everyone chose the doodle table. And she said within a couple of days she saw like a tremendous sort of difference in the students, and she was talking
Wow.
about it in a positive way, right? Like
Yeah.
the conversations that were being had at the table, just the regulation abilities for some of the students, probably all of the students, right? So these were first graders. And she's like, I think I'm just gonna keep that as an option. I was like, I mean, heck yeah. Just
Mhm.
like that's so awesome. And then you get to see it over time. She said it was really fun to watch the doodle page change, right? And so
Yeah.
it becomes this conversation piece for the classroom, and then they're all connected around it, you know. So yeah, what would your ideal day in a classroom be if you could design sort of when a teacher
Mm.
used it, when, like how often, when, what would you recommend?
Well, I think that I'm thinking about at the end of our we have it's a very short presentation. It's like 45 minutes. And at the end, we always ask them, so, our goal today was to sort of provide another tool for your toolkit. And, kids, when do you think you'd want to doodle? And, we get all sorts of interesting responses. Some of the kids are like, all the time, whenever I can, and other kids are like, when I'm sad, when I'm stressed, during
Hmm.
math class. And then we ask the teachers, and they're like, at recess, or at what else do they say? During art class. But then we'll get other teachers who will say, state testing is coming up. So let's do some doodling before our state testing.
Hmm.
So we get sort of a variety of responses, but I think that, ideally for me, I would have art integrated in every subject. But that is, I think, for me, that working in a very integrative discipline, that sort of is a natural
Right.
place for me to go. I did teach before I was an art therapist. I taught all K preschool through high school. But I
Mhm.
remember specifically, in third grade, I would use the art in everything that I could. So I think ideally for me, drawing about something, drawing from personal experiences, and creating art about that in social studies, or using sort of data visualization for math. Like I would do it all the time.
Mhm.
I don't think that that's realistic for
Right.
everyone.
I
So
think
I think, yeah, I don't know. Amber, what do you think?
Yeah, I think that it like starts before the kids even enter the room. But
Mhm.
there's art, there's representation, there's the art that students make on the walls, and that like is all part of creating that welcoming environment. And even just like the greeting, right? That I'm such a fan of the greeting where it's like the teacher is down at their level, making eye contact. And I love those little visual cues where you can get some movement and maybe do a little dance and the students pick which one they do. And then I think that, each classroom typically has like that morning meeting.
Yeah.
And I think that art is like such a great tool for the morning meeting to create art. Cause I know from my experience asking students, how are you? And we get good, fine.
Mhm.
But if I say to them, like, draw a scribble that represents like what your morning was like,
Hmm.
or like, what's the weather report? Even if we're not drawing, but
Yeah.
we're like using symbolism and metaphor to help express our emotional world. So like, if it's like, oh, it was tornadoes and lightnings this morning, miss, like that gives you so much more information to just have those like really important conversations, so that art is a process of like the mood meter, not only for the student to name for themselves, but like for the whole classroom.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of really creative ways to do that. So that to me, that's the ideal, like it really is that like setting the stage, like setting the frame,
Mhm.
like from the moment they walk in.
Yeah. I love that.
And then it
So
continues from there.
you're like creating a creative environment. Do you guys think you are part of a new paradigm, or is the paradigm like happening? Because I've been out of the teaching, classroom for a little bit. Do you feel like, do you what I'm trying to say? Is this the now in Los Angeles, or is it something new that you're breaking through?
I think I think that there has been a push for definitely more incorporation of social emotional learning in classroom spaces.
Mhm.
Can you talk about the all some few
Yeah,
model?
in what way?
I guess that's kind of something that we've just been incorporating because education spaces kind of have a shared language for that around here in Los Angeles, that we're integrating arts to meet the needs of some students that really need it. A few students that need, I might be saying it wrong. Can you
Oh
maybe?
yeah, the MTS, so they call it the multi-tiered system of support, I think is what
Oh.
you're referring to.
Yeah.
And so it's sort of like prevention and intervention strategies that
Hmm.
the educators are sort of discussing, where you have these certain activities that will benefit all students, some students, and a few students, right? But that, so for example, by including art as social emotional learning in the classroom, it's really benefiting all students.
Right.
But it could also really be benefiting
Right.
some, and then ideally maybe there's a few that you kind of, turn up the intervention a little bit to benefit
Yeah.
that small group of students.
Yeah.
And so I
I,
think that,
yeah.
I yeah. Oh, sorry. I think that that is not a new thing. I think the
Mhm.
pandemic though really kind of
Oh.
turned it up.
Uh-huh.
I think that there was progression towards that. But I think now we're in, like as Amber was saying, there's such a need. I think that there is already these existing mental health issues, but they're under the broiler now with all of
Yeah.
the stress and anxiety of our world. And so maybe it's not necessarily a new paradigm, it's just been kind of intensified, would be my hypothesis.
It's been accelerated. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
There's the Prop 28, which was
Mhm.
to increase funding for art and music initiative that has been in place here in California.
Yeah. Yeah. So there's been more funding. that has been geared towards mental health and now arts education in
Yes.
our part of the world.
Love
Yeah, I love hearing that. Okay,
Yeah,
that's
I know, me too. Yeah.
it.
well, thanks for taking the time to chat with us today. And man, keep doing what you're doing. I love it.
And then how can, let's talk about some new projects that you have going forward and how can people get in contact? Oops, sorry.
Yeah, well, we have our website at recipesforconnection.com. And we also have a book coming out.
Oh, that's exciting.
Yeah, recipe with arts oh my gosh, we had such a long title, but it's at social emotional arts activities for the classroom teacher. So that is coming out I think in December. We're finishing up our revisions. And so that's exciting. It's full of 60 activities, I think, about
Wow.
60 activities that are all connected to social emotional learning. And it's broken into 5 chapters. So you hit all all 5 of the SEL competencies. And so that'll be coming out. And what else?
Well, I think that one of the strengths that we bring to the table for the recipes for the meal, we like a metaphor, is curriculum development. And so we've done a lot of consultation, meeting with clients, like school systems, like this is what we're seeing. And I think Jessica and I, because we've been collaborating for so long, we just like, oh, well, what if we did this? What if we could really target that behavior? So there's a lot that we have right now, but there's also like a lot that we haven't created yet. We have a lot of really great ideas. We're really wanting to create like creative literacy books for really young children. We are also really trying, and we're just kind of not there, but we're really getting close to it, like developing these art kits that we can like sell a little bit, school boards or whatever. And so, yeah, we're just available to collaborate. We do teacher trainings for educators, for administration. We also do like family art time events where we use these recipe cards that came out of the whole recipes for connection concept, getting families together in the room. And so any organization, right, that's working with caregivers and youth could work with us and we could provide this space for them. And yeah,
We love collaborating.
We love collaborating.
Yeah. Hey, so do we. It's the, collaborating, right? We always talk about this. You get more done with more people that are passionate. The more people that are passionate, that are involved, the more you can get done, the more positive impact you can make. So
yeah.
Awesome. All right. Well, we'll put all the details in the description when we post it, and let us know when the book comes out. We'd love to share that with our audience.
Oh, thank you. Thanks so much to both of you.
Yeah.
I love your cat with the little mustache. That's so cute.
Mr. Charlie. That's Mr. Charlie Cat.
A gentleman.
I just want to have one final comment. It's really about art as service. And that's this whole conversation is service, right? So you're in service, we're in service. So loved it.
Absolutely. Thank you. Yeah.
So thank you so much.
Thank you.